I'm Glenda Greenwald, and I want to welcome you to our 6th annual AspenBrainLab. I'm really very proud to be presenting our AspenBrainLab program today because, as you know, unraveling the mysteries of the brain is now a national and global priority. And here we are in Aspen with our growing community of 21st century global seekers, and we're going to look at a lot of the mysteries of the brain today, but we're going to have a lot of fun too. I want to do several thank yous first, and I want to thank some of our sponsors. One of our great sponsors, who is actually more of a partner, our Access Circles. Are Carol Lee and Lynn here? I just can't see from here. They're not here. So let me thank all of the Access Circle people in any case, because for 6 years now, they have brought 50 to 60 sparkling entrepreneurs and power women to support Aspen Brain Lab every year. And I not only thank them, I laud them for their new initiative of trying to push forward very special research on women's health and talking about gender differences. Up to now, we have not used women to study any kind of pharma and drug research. And we need now to use female mice and females to study women's health. And I think some of the top women in women's health research are with us today. So welcome, all of you. Another sponsor is Alpine Bank. Mary Ryerson, are you here? Yeah, I think you are. Alpine Bank, which has banks all over Colorado, is the most community-minded bank and one of the most community-minded business folks in Colorado, and they have supported us every year. Thank you, Mary. And then I want to thank a new sponsor, which is Us Against Alzheimer's, and George Vredenberg, who is the founder and president. And you will see him later, or you will hear him later as moderator and speaker on the deep dive against Alzheimer's, into the end of Alzheimer's. Thank you, George, very much. Next, I want to thank the Aspen Brain Institute board. Can you just raise your hand if you're an Aspen Brain Institute board member? Thank you all for coming. Thank you for supporting and funding all of our 3 major programs, especially Aspen Brain Lab at the moment. And you will hear more from them as they will be introducing some of our speakers. So thank you for this beautiful board that I'm honored to have. Shanta Heath. Shanta, are you around? Shanta's our project director of Aspen Brain Lab. She does this whole thing. We couldn't do it without her, so please give her a round of applause. I want to thank all the volunteers who are helping us. They have staff written on their shirts, and you can ask them any questions, and please do, because things might get complicated later. I also want to thank the HS Squared kids for coming. They are high school kids from all over the country who are highly STEM talented, STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and math. They're highly STEM talented. They're here for an intensive summer program, and we give them, and to get them into the best colleges in the U.S. Would you all stand up, the HS Squared kids? Woo-hoo! And then I want to thank all the nonprofit groups who have display tables outside. They're all helping us with our body and mind health. And I want to give, thank you very much. I want to give a special shout out to the Aspen Valley Hospital Head Trauma Unit. They give us free bicycle helmets every year. And now they are free and they are generous to us, but they are for people that really need them. So please go outside, talk to them about concussion, the need for helmets, and please take a helmet if they have one left, but make sure that you really need one. Thanks. Now, my most heartfelt thanks go to the doctors and scientists and presenters that are here with us today, because they've come from near and far, and in this case, from very long. Several of our doctors and presenters had to take the long ride from Denver to get here today, but I think everybody made it, so thank you very much. The presenters here today are really our force multipliers. Now that's a kind of weird phrase, but they are giving us all of their research and their wisdom at the same time. And as I thought about why they're so important to us, I also thought why it's so important that AspenBrainLab convenes such a large group to hear all of our experts. And I found this quote that just explains it, at least for me. If I can find it. Every gain in technology demands minds and brains that are capable of accommodating the change. And the changed minds and brains go out and reshape the world even more. So that's all of that's their job, and it's all of our job. We're going out to reshape the world even more. Now, just a few notes, and then we'll begin. I want to tell you about our tiny program books. Do any of you see the little program books? So everybody, all the speakers, gave us lengthy bios that were more like memoirs for their grandchildren. So we put all the bios online. And you're welcome to look at your electronic devices, but please keep the ringer off. We'll have a healthy breakfast brain break at 10:30. You can look forward to that. We'll be trying to feed 250 people in about a half hour. You're welcome to bring your food back here and eat at the tables, but just be mindful of the time when that happens. And now we can get started. I have a real quick intro for the creative brain. We usually separate our talks into creative brain, healthy brain, future brain, and in the afternoon we'll do impaired brain, talking about Alzheimer's. So creativity, there's not an app for that. We're going to start on creative brain. There's an entire science about creative brain called the neurobiology of creativity. It's often a study of dopamine, a brain chemical that's certainly one of the mothers of creative invention. On my inbox or on my phone, I read every day about mind-blowing innovations and inventions. And they're all examples of creative brain in my mind. And so let's look at a few of the examples of creative brain that we have with us here today. Let's start by Laura Welch, one of our board members, coming to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Welch, and I'm a board member of Aspen Brain Institute. And I am a mountain climber and fellow adventurer, so making this introduction is exciting for me. I am introducing Scott Carney, who's an investigative journalist and anthropologist, and he's worked in some of the most dangerous corners of the world. His work blends narrative nonfiction with ethnography. Currently is a senior fellow at the Schuster Institute for Investigative Journalism and a 2016 Scripps Fellow at the Center for Environmental Journalism in Boulder. His books include the New York Times bestseller, What Doesn't Kill You, as well as The Red Market and The Enlightenment Trap. Carney was a contributing editor at Wired, and his writings have also appeared in Mother Jones, Men's Journal, Playboy, with his shirt off, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce James Carney, or Scott Carney, sorry.
Thank you. Hi there. Thanks so much for having me here. Again, I'm Scott Carney, investigative journalist, and I think I want to start with a little video about what this project has entailed, the book called What Doesn't Kill Us. So could we just run that first?
I traveled to Poland to expose a charlatan, a prophet who claimed he could give ordinary people superpowers. He said he could control his body temperature at will, hijack his immune system, and conquer the world's tallest mountains with no cold weather gear. I'd built my career as an investigative journalist debunking people like him. But to prove he was a liar or a madman, I had to try his method. I'm not an athlete, I'm not exceptional, but I found a power that I never knew humans had. I hiked to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro without a shirt. I sat on the snowy bank of a river until the ice melted around me. I trained with top athletes. I crossed the finish line of the world's most notorious cold weather obstacle course race wearing nothing but shorts and a smile. I could do 80 push-ups on a single breath, and I lost 7 pounds of fat in 7 days. If I can do it, anyone can.
All right. So sometimes people need video and photos to understand exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of it sounds frankly unbelievable. And back in 2011, when I heard about this guy named Wim Hof sitting on an iceberg somewhere north of the Arctic Circle, I had been an investigative journalist for about 10 years. My first book was about organ trafficking. My second book was about how meditation and intensive spiritual pursuits can kill you or drive you mad. And I'd been following these charlatan gurus around the world and just finding time and time again, people who are promising you superpowers are liars and charlatans, and they're out there after your money. So when I heard about this guy, he said that you could sit on an iceberg and control your body temperature. He said that you could control your immune system with the power of your mind. And I was like, bullshit. Like, there's no way. And so I got a commission from Playboy, and I flew out there with the intention of debunking this guy, to say, look, you're, promising something which is just too big, and it's pretty likely you're going to get people killed, because who can do that, right? So I flew to Poland, and I had been living in Los Angeles right before this, and before that I'd been living in India. So I am a warm weather guy. I like palm trees, I like beaches, and I hate that stuff that he's sitting on. And so got off at Poland, in a city called Wrocław, and he meets me at the airport gate. And he's this sort of shortish, ruddy-looking guy with a big bulbous nose and a little pointy hat that makes him look like a garden gnome. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the easiest assignment of my life. And he greets me with this, big smile, open-hearted, and he says, I'm so glad you're here. And he's like, and I know you're going to try to ruin me. and at this point, Wim Hof is a nobody, right? It's 2011, January, And he's running this big training program that he was sure was going to fill up. And it was me and 2 other guys, one guy from Latvia, one guy from Croatia. And they were very excited about him. And I was like, this guy's crazy. So we drive out into the mountains. And we get to this tiny, dilapidated farmhouse in the mountains. And the first thing I see is this dude standing in a snowbank, throwing snow on himself, and there's steam coming off of him. And I'm like, 1, that's crazy, and I don't want to do that. And 2, how is that possible? Steam? What's going on here? And I sit with him that night. And so there's this thing that anthropologists and journalists struggle with, which is if you're going to go report on something, if you're going to go out there and try to understand something, you can do it as an observer and sit on the outside and try to be clinical about it and say, these people are doing this method and it seems very interesting. Or you can jump in. And I'm the sort of guy who jumps in. And even though I think that he's probably a charlatan trying to take advantage of people, I'm still going to give him a fair shot. That's just sort of the rules that I abide by. So the next morning, after hanging out with him for an evening, we start the training process. And we'll get into the training a little bit later, exactly what it entails. But one of the things you do is stand out in the snow. And he's like, it's going to hurt when you stand in the snow. And I'm like, great, that's terrible, because cold is especially bad for me, right? All of you are thinking the same thing. Everyone in this room is thinking, cold's really bad for me personally. And I stood in the snow, first time ever, and I stand in it, and my feet hurt. It feels like I'm walking on coals, because my feet, for the very first time, have felt an environmental experience that they'd never felt before, called vasoconstriction. But his method over the next week does pretty miraculous things. It's really straightforward. There's 2 things that you do. One is you learn is his breathing method, which is essentially hyperventilation, followed by an exhale, and you hold it. You do that 3 or 4 times. And you hold it first time a minute, second time maybe 2 minutes, maybe the third time you're holding it for 3 minutes. Maybe you get to 5. Maybe you get to 2, and that's all you can do. That's fine. But you're trying to push that gasp reflex back. And there's metabolic reasons for why this works that you can totally read the book for why it does. But surprisingly, it works. And not only that, after doing 3 or 4 of these times, he says, hey, do push-ups. Exhale fully. You're super oxygenated now. You've blown off all the CO2 out of your system. Exhale and do push-ups. And at this point, I could do 20 push-ups. I knew that. But I did this, and without breathing, with empty lungs, I did 40 push-ups, and they felt easy. So something was going on here that was really weird. The second thing you do is you get in the snow. You get into that stressful response, like this. And instead of clenching up and shivering, you relax. Because you're programming, all of the things in your body are telling you, clench up, fight this response with everything you have. And that's what we call a sympathetic nervous system response. Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight response. You see a tiger, that's your sympathetic nervous system. Not in the zoo, but like in front of you. Okay, that's your sympathetic nervous system firing. That's your adrenaline going crazy, giving you that boost of speed to get eaten by the tiger a little bit later. And what we're doing here is, in the snow, you trigger that same response. But now you're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to switch this response. I'm going to relax. And your body doesn't want to die, right? Your body doesn't say, okay, I'm going to give up on life right now. It's over. What happens is you've denied it the sympathetic way to heat yourself, which is shivering. And now you're switched over to a metabolic program. You're burning fat, literally, and transforming that into heat energy. And it's amazing. You can learn this in like 15 minutes. You can learn this in your shower, believe it or not. And that's, in a way, that's all there is to it. And you can do some pretty cool things. After 6 months of training, doing this constantly every day, and also doing things like running 3 or 4 miles throughout the winter in Denver, so not extremely cold, but here I am just in shorts, I ended up climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in that outfit. That's Wim next to me. So why does this work? Right? What is it behind this that is working? Remember, I'm the guy who says that meditation will kill you, right? I am not the hippie pranas coming from heaven and filling up my chakras dude. Those guys are fine, but that's not my thing. Why is it that I was able to, in just the course of a week, radically transform my interaction with the environment? Well, it turns out there's evolutionary principles. These are not superpowers. These are human powers. Now, our species has been around for, depending on what archaeologists you talk to, between 200,000 and 400,000 years. Now, in that time, our species, that means Homo sapiens, you guys, dealt with extreme variations in heat and cold. It doesn't matter if you're talking in the Sahara, right? Even in the what we consider a hot environment, you're going up to 110 degrees in the day and you're dropping down to 50 degrees at night. And they incidentally didn't have central heating back then, right? They incidentally didn't have air conditioning. What they had was their biology to deal with the changing environmental norms. Now, what has happened only in the last 150 years, 100 years, is that we have taken out that constant of variation in our environment and factored it out. We have become creatures of comfort. We have become totally addicted to the fact that we don't want our bodies to do any work. But that is not what we evolved for. And so what looks like it's crazy is actually just something that we have. We are the descendants of evolutionary winners, and all of this is something that you can activate. And really fascinating is that it doesn't take a lot of time to do. Because we're evolutionary winners, it wasn't like our distant ancestors saw a snowstorm on the horizon and was like, okay, I'll get ready next month, it'll be fine. Right? What happens is that these changes to your metabolism are survival-based, and you have to enact them quickly, which is why in 1 week I was able to perform those pretty drastic and amazing feats. Now, there's an entire hidden biology in your body. If you have about 60,000 miles of tubing. And along that tubing, and there's a lot of biology that I'm not going to be able to get into because we don't have time, but we're just going to look at one. It's called vasoconstriction. Now, when I jumped in that snow, the first thing I felt was pain. And one of the reasons for that pain is that there's these muscles called smooth muscle on all of your arteries, which constrict in a life-threatening situation like cold, and to shunt blood to your core. This is a basic mammalian response. Your cat has this, probably. But you cannot control vasoconstriction consciously, well, at least not very easily. You need that environmental stimulus to trigger that response. And if you've never done it before, you're not actually using your biology. So what we need to think about here is that all of this, the environmental stimulus that come to you is important for human health. Now, we usually think about human health in two ways, right? It's the food you eat and the way your body expends that energy through running or whatever else, right? This is like every diet plan ever, right? How do you get in shape? You eat the right stuff and you do the right things to optimize the way you work. But there's a third pillar of human health that we are just generally not conscious of, which is the environmental stimulus that's coming to you right now. You're all sitting in an air-conditioned room somewhere in Aspen, right? Outside, it's actually sort of sweltering hot. Why do we come to a totally comfortable room where we can wear really whatever we want on the inside and feel comfortable? That comfort is an addiction that we all have and that we've all grown very accustomed to, that is not in any of the indigenous traditions in the world. So I want you to think about that. If you jump into the cold, I said I lost 7 pounds of fat in 7 days. My book is not a diet book. Okay? But it could be. Go tell Oprah. Actually, some of you guys might know Oprah, so please do tell Oprah. So the underground, the main concept in this book isn't just about cold and heat and breathing, right? The real concept here is the environment, and it's a concept that I call the wedge. And this is when we use an environmental stimulus to trigger a predictable reaction in our environment, and then using your intentions, so before you get into that environment, to redirect that response to either a parasympathetic or sympathetic pathway. Now, I know that's a big mouthful of words that I just threw at you, but let me break it down. Let's say you have to sneeze, okay? We can all know what sneezing feels like, right? It's this, and it's sort of like it's painful, it's sort of fun when it actually happens, right? But we know that process. Now, if you say to yourself, I don't want to sneeze, I'm going to stop sneezing right now. You can go like this. You can go, and you can let it go. And that is the essence of the wedge. It's using that response that comes in and then stopping it from happening. Now, this gives you some control over this system in your body that you actually shouldn't have control over. The autonomic nervous system should not be hackable in that way, but it is. And it works not just with a sneeze, because honestly, there's no reason to control sneezing. It's fun, right? But it is something that you can intervene with. And it also works in cold, it works in heat, it works in anything where you have a sensation that comes in from the environment. It could work with delaying an orgasm. You could do it that way. It could work with, with sleep. And we're going to have some yoga nidra talks a little bit later today. Now, the way I look at it, the wedge breaks in two different ways. And Jamie Wheel is going to be talking about flow a little bit later, so we're going to dive down into that a lot deeper. Now, the wedge is this concept, is where you have this autonomic response and you can choose how to deal with it. And when you jump into a cold shower, let's say, your instinct is to go, and that's grit. That's power, that's force. That is what Americans are really good at. We really love grit. We love that tough guy thing, okay? And you can get some control over your autonomic nervous system when you do this. You're trudging through a desert. Sometimes you need the grit to get through, or else you're going to get killed. But there's this other side, too, where you also have control over your nervous systems, where you relax and you say, instead of fighting that stimulus that's coming from the outside world, I can go with it. I can use it. I can say, this thing that I'm experiencing isn't pain. This thing I'm experiencing is joy. This is fun. And really, there's this mental switch. And when I ran that cold weather obstacle course race, and when other people were in wetsuits and neoprene and out there for hours and hours of time on the field, I was in a bathing suit, and I was saying, oh my God, that pain on my skin, that's the sensation of joy. And that transformed for me into the actual metabolic change of heat. And I was also really happy. So, how does this work? Now I'm going to get into, I only have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to give you a very quick primer on how you get information into your system. When I'm feeling cold, that sensation enters my body as volume. It's like this sensation that comes in, but my brain hasn't yet processed it. And it comes in to the lowest areas of the brainstem simply as like sensation, but it doesn't mean anything. And then what happens is that sensation goes from the paralimbic system, where it's just sensation, to the limbic system, where we combine that with an emotional response, where that cold now becomes, pain, oftentimes. And where it makes that symbol, where it defines that happening, is when it creates that symbol out of your emotional state at the time that you are feeling this thing. And the next time you feel that same sensation, your body doesn't reinterpret that stimulus. What it does is it goes back to the symbol that you've created neurologically in your mind and reaccesses that, because it's sort of lazy. It doesn't want to create the new information. And so with the wedge, what you do is you tell yourself intentionally, right now, as I'm entering into this stressful stimulus, I will reinterpret that stimulus in my new emotional state. I will give it a different emotional valence, which gives you amazing resilience. And now this will not make you Superman. You're not going to be able to, you can hike up to the top of Kilimanjaro in a bathing suit, but you cannot be ejected into space. So take that in mind. In the battle of nature versus man, nature always wins. There's a lot more to talk about in this. This also radically changes your immune system. And we don't have time to get into it. But what has happened with the people who are following this method, because they're more environmentally sound, they're also seeing remission in things like Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis. They're managing Parkinson's. And it's truly amazing. I suggest you check out the book. There's a really cool shirtless dude on the front. It's not me. And the other thing you can start doing right now is taking cold showers. Take a cold shower in the morning and relax in it. This is your introduction to your nervous system. And learn from those sensations and interpret that as joy and happiness. If you want to learn anything more, my name's Scott Carney, scottcarney.com, SG Carney everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Hello. Hi, guys. After reading Scott's book and hearing and thinking all about the cold thing, I got as far as when I have my hair washed at the beauty shop and they say, do you want a cold rinse? I now say yes, but I say, no fear, joy. And it's beautiful, it works. And I've gotten as far as cold showers, like fingers, toes. Anyway, we're all going to try this. And one day, Scott, I really would love you to do a workshop with us and teach us all how to find joy in the ice cold therapy. One year, we had too many videos. And this year, we're only having, I don't count Scott's video because that's part of his presentation. And we're looking in the segment of creative brain. I thought that Wim Hof method and Scott's response to it is really terrific examples of creative brain. But I have a video that I'd like you to watch. It's about a blind man and his armless friend, best friend. And they are disturbed to see the rural paradise where they grew up. It no longer had flowers or trees or fish or clean water. And they were really disturbed about this lifeless area. And they felt they had to do something. I'm not going to tell you their response, but I'd like you to see this inspirational stories of how two very poor Chinese men with severe disabilities, one is blind and one is armless, but they have great creative brains and big hearts. And let's see how they make a difference.
一棵树就是一台吸尘器。就是真的，你就是现在你看空气质量这么差，每天就是灰蒙蒙的。
小时候吧，周围的环境比现在要好。那时候的水里边的鱼、虾、囊巴都挺多的，山上的鸟类也多，野兔子、干什么都挺多的。所以说植树啊，只有利，没有害。
好，有吧。
我叫贾文琪，是河北省石家庄市景兴县孙庄乡野里村人。我今年54岁。我是3岁时，1965年，营出高压电，跌起了双臂，这从小就是一个残疾人。
我叫贾黑亚，今年55岁。我从2000年这个在一次事故当中把这个双眼给 崩瞎了，就是我们两个从2002年开始种树，一直到现在了。等一会儿，我们从小就是发小。我们的子一辈父一辈吧，我们的老人他们以前就关系挺不错的，就是老邻居。我2000年的时候把眼睛给打瞎了，大夫一告诉我说判死，就等于判死刑了，说眼睛你不会是看见了。你放着。真的那个时候真的想跳楼了，你不是这样，从小叫什么习惯了。你说以前我一看多远，哎，拿起报纸了你就看了你。这个时候，就是说我们怎么干？就说，我拉着他的衣袖，他说：“哎，你对我的双眼，我对你的双手。”每一年差不多有3种这个鸟类灭绝了，就没有了。
工业污染，主要是工业污染，都是石灰厂，这样把这个空气都给污染了。
我为什么把眼睛打瞎呢？以前就是干那个石灰厂，
因为过去这山上吧，它起码有草。有这个山林子什么的，现在它这样一开发，把这个山体都破坏了。这一刮风，它都灰尘就起来了，全部刮到这河里边，这个浑水把这个鱼、鳖、虾什么的都给呛死了，灭种了都。我从小真的我喜欢这个树林。最初我是在残疾人艺术团工作，后来我老父亲有病了，我辞掉了残疾人艺术团工作的职务，回来我照顾着老父亲。那时候正好他也把眼伤了，正是在这个能干的时候伤掉了，你说苦闷不苦闷呢？哎，那时候我们这2个人都要协商着干什么呢？总不能把自己作为这个社会的累赘。就是我们2个人也别的也干不了，人活着还得要奋斗啊。所以说呢，我们2个都想着，哎呀，这植树吧。
我们第1年秋天就是种了，就是800棵。我们每天数着数，我们说啊，种了几棵了，种了几棵了。第2年春天过了春天以后，看那个树，说真的，对我们打击挺大的，就是只喝了2颗。800棵只喝了2颗，我们以为插上就能成活了，其实可并不是那么简单的事儿。没水，它照样活不了。我们也挺灰心的，我说干不了，算了吧，我们干不了。那个时候，人家贾文琪说真的，贾文琪比我这个坚强，人家从小就没有手，就是他叫我不要灰心，我们还继续种，咱们想办法。说这样吧，我们把这水引过来。把这水引过来以后，咱们开始栽种，水到哪里，我们栽种到哪里。
慢点啊！
啊，
哎，慢点，慢点。 这么长呢，在最初植树的时候，你没有这个树苗的来源怎么办呢？
我头上不起来，因为我没有钱买树，没有钱买树苗，光说种树啊种树，没有钱买树苗，你怎么办？
我们都是这样，看着树枝。
你说咱们可以说全国说起来，哪有说用那个树枝儿去当树苗的？这也是逼出来的，没办法的办法，把我们逼出，我们试着种吧，试一次。
你可他说不知道这个。好，行吧。
哎，过了好长时间，哎，发芽了，就是长出这枝叶了，哎，可以了，那可以，这是可以活了。哎，后来我们就开始种树了。
知道这个。好，行吧。好，拿着，拿点树枝来。好，你找住啊，我美啊。演了几期，没演3期都算了。天赋怪的呀。
这爬出来成了文物了。
对了。
我们看10几年了，我们2个残疾人10几年种了1万多棵树。
现在我们这个几十亩荒滩已经都成了树林了。以后啊，村委会又批给我们100多亩坡地，山坡地，仍然让我们到山上植树去。别人看看我们2个残疾人能够植树的话，说别人假如说都活动起来，都行动起来，啊，
只有精神团结、互相团结的说，什么事情可以干成了。假如每一年1个人只成活2棵树或者1棵树，咱们那个前景是什么？那个概念是什么？那是。
虽然我们2个人的能力有限，但是我们可以用我们这种精神。假如说你那想得到，不敢做得到，做得到是不是不敢说得到，说得到不敢。也就是说，让后人，让世人看到这片树林之后，即便我们2个不在了，别人也知道这是2个残疾人制成的，这一片树林是残疾人给留下来的。
Let's go on to one more good creative brain. Karen Underko, going to introduce Sheryl. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Karen Underko. I'm a Aspen Brain Institute board member and the Director of Research and Education at Integrated Listening Systems. It's a neuroplastic therapy company. I'm so excited to introduce our next speaker, Sheryl Barto. She's a public relations executive who's gone back to her farming roots and her lifelong love of horses to create a nonprofit that's helping people with autism and veterans with PTSD. She co-founded the Smiling Goat Ranch in Carbondale to share the Horseboy method, which is an equine therapy that's rooted in science and in love. She and her volunteer team of patient and empathetic humans and animals celebrate neurodiversity and the therapeutic benefits of being in nature. Her natural and inclusive sensibility appeals to me, and I know that her work will be compelling as you listen to it. Please welcome Sheryl Barto.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. One other little piece, part of my introduction, I am an autism mom as well. I'm really excited to be here and share our work with you. I really wish I had one of my horses up here with me, but I think he might break the stage. He's pretty large. And then I thought maybe we could take him out back into the lawn and we could actually do a sensory work demonstration for you. But instead, we're only 25 miles from here. You'll have to come down and visit us and meet our equine team for yourself. As I said, we're located in Carbondale, Colorado, and we implement the Horseboy method and the movement method. And it's the only equine therapy that really works for the brain and the nervous system. Horseboy was devised by autists and neuroscientists in Europe and the USA. There are now tens of thousands of families who benefit from the Horseboy method, and we are in 20 countries. When I started this 3 years ago, we were in 7. So it's super exciting. We are the first location in Colorado, and we just expanded to the United States Air Force Academy Equestrian Center. And guess what? Our program works for veterans with PTSD as well as folks with autism. So we're really excited that's just kicked off there this year. And we help not only autism, but ADD, ADHD, anything really on the neurosensory issue. The whole premise of this is based on a father who had a severely autistic son and realized that when he put his son on the back of a horse, his son stopped having the autistic temper tantrums. So we're going to take a little look at an excerpt from the movie. Chris, if you could play this now. Thank you.
In April 2004, my son Rowan was diagnosed with autism. The feeling was like being hit across the face with a baseball bat. Our lives became clogged under a mountain of conflicting information on the disorder. We tried everything. He didn't speak to us. One day, he ran away from me and ran right up to a horse called Betsy. The moment I put Rowan on Betsy's back, he began to speak.
He's a nice horse.
As Rowan began to open up to me for the first time, a light bulb went on in my head. Was there a place on Earth that combined healing with horses? Mongolia. This is a story about how, as a family, we did something crazy. How we ended up going halfway across the world in search of a miracle.
I think it wasn't exactly Ron's vision of Mongolia.
We're going to go up a several thousand-foot mountain and perform a 4-hour ritual with shamans. Isn't that what all families do? Sometimes I think he's like leaping forward. Sometimes it's like he's totally regressing. I couldn't help wondering, did I really have his best interest at heart here?
I don't know how useful it is to think of us as normal and Rowan as the thick one.
And then something happened. Rowan began laughing, giggling. We were together again as a family. His autism forced me to listen to what interested him above all else. We're onto something good here.
So now you have a sense how this journey started. After this journey, Rupert thought to himself, well, if this works for my son, and there's so many children being diagnosed with autism, could it work for other children? So he decided that he would chat with some folks who are on the autism spectrum. And one of the most famous people on the autism spectrum is Dr. Temple Grandin. I'm sure many of you have heard of Temple. She is a professor in animal science at CSU. And if you've ever hung out with Temple, she's pretty autistic, but she has an amazing public persona. So Rupert consulted with her, also having the experience with his own son, and she said there were a couple things you should do. Number one is follow the child. Follow them intellectually, follow them emotionally, follow them physically. So that means if they're a runner, you are running with them. And do it in nature and let them move. So I wanted to pose a question to the group and ask you, what's your single most important educational experience? And I know that's a big question, and I think Scott could answer that pretty easily with what he just showed us. Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
The French chat at the County Library.
Say that again, Mary?
French chat over
The chat, okay, the French chat, the Pickens County Library. I know for me, if I look back, it's a lot of experiential moments, and it's not sitting behind a desk having a teacher talking to you. Last year, I had an interesting experience while we were delivering services to veterans with PTSD. And we had an art therapist on site, and she opened up what we were doing to the volunteers on the site. And I'm somebody who likes to plan and control, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm feeling moved to do this. And it was a moment where I felt like I had a breakthrough of not following a plan and realized that something really good could come out of it. So what I want to do is, before I get into the theory of Horseboy, is have a little fun with everybody. So what I'd like to do is ask you to all stand up if you are able. Okay, and now we're gonna just jog in place a little bit. I was gonna do 20 seconds, maybe we'll just do 10. We're gonna get the energy moving. I don't have the fun music that Gina had, but maybe I should have Gina singing with me up here. Okay, now we can stop. And what I'd like to do, usually I divide the room in half and have you split to either side, but just because we have some space constraints, we're gonna make some adjustments here. So, find a partner, your neighbor. It doesn't need to be anybody you know. Okay. And now what I'd like you to do is just back up a couple steps from each other. And now I'm going to teach you something while you are moving, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna walk towards your partner and you're going to give them a high five. Awesome, great job. Okay, now you're gonna walk towards your partner, give them a high five, and clap. Okay? And now you're gonna back up, and we're gonna start learning a new song. Some of you might know this, I don't know, and I cannot sing, so forgive me for my voice here. But as you're walking, I'm gonna shout out the first phrase of the song. You're gonna do your clap, high five, and then you're going to back up and repeat that phrase of the song to me. And we're gonna go through the song, okay? Bear with me. All right, so walk towards each other, and here is the song. 50 nifty United States. Okay, now go forward. From 13 original colonies. This is awesome. Okay. 50 nifty stars in the flag that billow so beautifully in the breeze. Okay, you ready to take it from the top? Let's try. Ready? And keep moving. We're gonna go forward and back. Ready? 50 nifty United States from the 13 original colonies. 50 nifty stars in the flag that billow so beautifully in the breeze. Yay! Okay, now I want everybody to look at each other. Do you see so many smiles? Yes. And do you see open body language? People relaxing. Okay. So now you are ready to learn. Okay. So now you can sit down. You can sit down. And we'll take a look quickly here at the neuroscience and how this works. And all you scientists here will understand this in much greater detail than I do. I just know that I know this works. So folks on the autism spectrum, Temple tells us, have really overactive amygdalas. And they're flooded with cortisol. So you saw Rowan have that temper tantrum. That is super common in kids with autism. And so what's triggering that? They, having this overactive amygdala, they live in a constant state of stress with a brain flooded with cortisol. So what we're trying to do is reverse that. And we reverse that through movement. And I know that in neuroscience, cortisol, it's very much needed to help us deal with those flight, stressful situations, but too much of it is not good and can cause damage to the brain. And so what we're trying to do with our process is help reverse that. So there's that fun thing that our brain does by rebuilding itself, neuroplasticity. And we, part of what I want to impart to you is that the solution is not totally in the brain, but rather it's the brain working with the body and the psoas muscle. So the psoas muscle really tenses up when you are triggered. And you're in that fight or flight. Scott was talking about a tiger coming after you. We talk about a rhinoceros coming through the wall. For somebody with autism, that can be bad lighting, it can be fluorescent lighting, it can be industrial noise, it can be being too cold, it can be being too hot. There are any number of things that can set them off. And what we're trying to do is relax the psoas muscle. And that's what we just did with you with the fun little song and learning. So the antidote to cortisol is that happy hormone called oxytocin. And all we are about at Smiling Goat Ranch and the Horseboy method is producing oxytocin. And there are so many ways to do this. You can do it by rocking, you can do it by running, you can do it by dancing, you can do it by jogging. And one of the greatest places to do it is from the back of a cantering horse. So I want to show you a very quick clip here of, I have a great volunteer corps, and in this particular clip, there's a group of enthusiastic teenagers, and we're working with a child who's nonverbal, and we're gonna do a math problem with him. And his mom came to us and said, he doesn't understand double-digit math. So we break it down, and you'll hear him say 4 + 3 is 7 + 10, and then we'll go on to the canter. Whoops. Chris, could you?
4 + 3 = 40, 50, take it, 10. Yes! 17! Yay! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, 16, 17!
Yay. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, pretty exciting. Then I want to show you another quick clip. And this is a child that's too big for us to back ride in the saddle with, so we're long lining him. And he is also nonverbal. And he, this particular clip went viral in our community, and you will see why. Go ahead, Chris. So that's a lot of oxytocin. Yeah. Okay, I don't have a lot of time left because there's another clip I want to get to too, but I'm quickly going to go through sensory work, and that is where we use body-to-body contact, human to horse. We have 3 different positions we put people in, and you'll see that top photo. That is a veteran, and she's doing what we call the butt hug. And some veterans get up there and actually fall asleep. Anybody want to guess what our record is for how long somebody stayed asleep on the back of our horse? Any guesses? Hour? Somebody said an hour. Hour and a half. 2 hours. And I had a horse that loved it too, and it was amazing. And the veterans get off of the horse and they have these incredible emotional releases. Some are moved to tears. It's really, really powerful. So I'm going to skip right over to, you're invited to come down and see us anytime. Give us a call. Tomorrow we have play dates starting at 9 a.m. And it's going to be a multi-family play date. On July 29th, we actually have a group of veterans coming, and we'll put them through sensory work and we'll ride with them. And we have a table outside, so come say hi. And I want to play this clip before I have to wrap up. It's some testimonials from some of the veterans who've come down to work with us.
I've never done equine therapy, but it was really amazing to be able to bond with the horses and be able to draw our warrior symbol on them and how we felt, and so we had a really good time with the horses.
I'm overwhelmed by the support that I found here. I came down here to the Smiling Goat Ranch, and they put us in a big old circle, and I was a little bit hesitant, reluctant at first, but after we got through introductions and realized that every other person I didn't recognize was a volunteer there to help me and my fellow vets, it was reassuring and humbling a little bit to realize that there were so many people out there willing to help us.
Thank you.